What's it like building a custom guitar with one of the major manufacturers in the world? We have a lot of experience doing that. Today, we're going to kind of talk about some of the ins and outs, differences between some of the companies, what you can expect, and how we can help you get through that process. So stick around. Hey, you're watching Alamo Music TV. My name is Chris McKee.
And I'm Cooper Greenberg.
We're here with Alamo Music in San Antonio, Texas, and you can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe. Turn on notifications, like our videos. If you want to support the channel, you can visit our spring store, link below, for custom swag. Check out our podcast, the Fretboard Confessional, and of course, you can buy stuff from us as well. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, specifically getting custom guitars. And I'm holding a beautiful one here. We're going to talk about some examples of some things that we've done, customers have done, things that you can do, and kind of how to navigate the process and what to expect.
Oh yeah, so we got the Taylor here for a couple reasons. One, I totally cheated Chris out of the opportunity of showing off our first master grade Koa GA.
Not the first time.
Yeah. It's like anytime Chris is out of town, something with master grade comes in.
Holidays, I'm on vacation, yeah.
So I got to show off the first one. This is partially a way that we get to show you the second one that came in. I did mention that there was another one coming in.
Yeah.
And while wildly different in its appearance, it is 100% undoubtedly master grade.
Yeah, this is a stunner. So if you saw the review video that he shot, and there was nothing nefarious on Cooper's part, it was weird holiday timing on everything. But we handpicked these woods when we went to the Taylor factory this past September, and there was a stack of master grade Koa, and we tried to take advantage of every little bit of it as we could. And this is, we enjoy the term here, 90s Koa sometime. Mm-hmm. And this is like the presentation grade 90s Koa. This really is incredible, tightly flamed, highly figured master grade Koa, book matched back. It's just killer. And we were dealing with such beautiful wood. We really wanted to do the proper appointments on it. Go with something that's beautiful, like the Cindy inlay, Koa headstock,
Koa
backstrap. Do it up right and proper, And I like that we framed it with rosewood. I think it's a nice compliment.
Koa and rosewood go together. So probably the prettiest guitar and the least fun thing in custom guitar discussion to talk about, which you bring up as a kind of little point, is the limitations based on the manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the hardest of which is availability of wood. But if we're talking Taylor, we've done it probably more than any other brand that we work with. We've done a lot of Taylor customs, both for our store, just to show off to you, like this one, and for customers. And everybody's a little different. We are going to be talking about Martin and Furch as well, but I think this goes across the board to a lot of different manufacturers. There's just things that no matter how badly you want them, they will not do.
That's true. Every company has to do certain limitations. And I will say, it's not that they won't do them. The way to deal with things that you don't want to do in your company is generally to go, okay, we'll do that. It will cost this. And then give a ridiculous amount. And if that person says, okay, then most of the time companies will go, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah.
But to backtrack a little bit, with some of these companies, what I'm about to say applies, and with some of them, it doesn't. But I think generally, we're usually talking about three different types of custom guitars when we're talking custom guitars, right? You have the custom guitars that are effectively custom shop made, but they're kind of a standard model. Gibson comes to mind. A custom shop 59 reissue Les Paul is a standard model. It's made in the custom shop, but it's not something you've customized, but you could.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's your standard model custom items, and then you have things that we do, which is like what this is and things like it, where we have built a custom, and sometimes it's a one-off or maybe a two-off, like with this guitar, out of a trip to a factory, or we did a custom shop experience with Martin in our store where we were picking woods. That's usually how that goes. We've also done things where we've done exclusives, and exclusives should be seen as generally a custom item, where maybe we make 10 of them, but it's done through a custom order program, and it's unique to that. And then of course the third option, which is the most difficult to navigate is building your unique custom guitar.
Which is an experience that I hope everybody can do at some point. We've both done it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rewarding.
And we understand it can be nerve-wracking.
It's very nerve-wracking because then it shows up and you're like,
how much?
why'd I do that? Yeah. So let's take Taylor,
Mm-hmm.
because while there are sometimes we get frustrated because we're like, why can't we do this, this, and this? They do make it pretty accessible
Mm-hmm.
with an extensive but not overwhelming sheet that you can fill out. And so we could send that to you. You can get that. You can fill it out yourself. We can help you along the way. A lot of times when a custom starts, I think you've probably experienced this. It's like, I want a Grand Pacific and I want it to be all Koa. And so then it's like, all right, well, we got to talk binding, rosette, inlays, every other little thing. And different manufacturers give you a different amount of freedom to play within that, But Taylor, for how beautiful their guitars are, they like to keep them that way by sometimes saying, yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, it goes, so there's a few parts of this too, right? So we can help guide you through things from our experience of like, here's what a really good inlay that would work well with that, or here's the binding that I think would work well. Sometimes bindings, you want it to be a contrast. Sometimes you want it to be a more subtle contrast. And sometimes certain colors work and other colors don't. And that's, I think, where Taylor really kind of like, we don't want to do that like a purple purfling. We've done this enough, that's not going to turn out well. So there's some of that, and then there's also a bit of a mix when it comes to certain appointments or options based upon models. And that's something we navigate. Now, they have some flexibility now in regards to if you wanted something that doesn't fit in V-Class, you can still have that built, and it's not V-Class. We've done that. It's like you can have this guitar built. You could do advanced performance bracing, which is really killer bracing. My Taylor has what was it? It's CV bracing, which is a really great bracing. There's things that you can do. It just depends upon how you want to navigate that, and so there's a lot of options. Do you want a maple neck? Do you want a maple neck on a rosewood guitar? But do you want a maple neck on a maple guitar? That could probably be killer. So.
Yeah, and while there are things that I would have never thought of that are customers' preferences that I've been a little surprised, like we can't do that, but trust, Chris and I or anybody else that works here, we're not telling you no because we don't want to do it for you. We would love for you to get a, Grand Concert 12 fret with the 1 11 16th inch nut. They just won't do it. However, one thing that's great about Taylor is, say you're picking Koa, whether you are there at the factory or you're sitting at home, they will give you options. A lot of people do ask, are you able to pick your woods when it's necessary? Yes.
Yeah.
They're not going to let you pick the neck. They're not going to let you pick the mahogany for your neck, but they will let you pick your AA Koa top, back, and sides.
Fretboards.
They'll do.
Not usually tops. There's two ways to navigate this. So if it's March and you want to have a custom guitar built, then we work with these companies to get an idea and be able to share options, a certain amount of options. You can't go through like 56 back and side options, and it depends upon availability. But when we also, like, say, make a visit to Taylor, if you are wanting something that's, say, selected from the factory, then you could say, when you guys go out there, then we're going to work on something. Now, there's pros and cons to both ways. The pro of doing it, remotely is there's a certain amount of flexibility that's there. The pro of doing it when, say, we do a visit is we're going to go through that stuff. It's more hands-on, and there might be other options. Like this last time, we were picking through tops, which they haven't always had an option for us to do that on. But the downside to that is we might get there and they're out of Koa.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where you have to trust that we're navigating all of the options for you.
Yeah, and within Taylor, there are different levels of custom guitars which you don't really see across other manufacturers. So this would be a full-on from scratch custom guitar. Now, in the past, we've talked about standard model options, which have slimmed to a certain degree. For instance, we haven't really talked about this, but you can't really make changes on, say, 300 series, 400 series anymore. However, with some of the things that you might say, I need to go custom shop on this because I don't want a cutaway or don't want electronics or I want a different nut width or different whatever, tuners. They do make those things that are quick changes in the factory pretty available. And there's an in-between tier, some may say, where you can select certain options that are kind of within a predetermined list of specifications by series.
Right.
So if you really want an 800 series, but you want a cedar top and you want a different inlay, they make that a little more available than, say, if you wanted a GA with sassafras and a cedar top and bloodwood binding and all that stuff. That's going to be your full-on custom, but there's plenty of people that say, I love the 724, but I want a little bit different inlay and I want, a AA top and these tuners or whatever. That makes it a little more easy to get a Taylor that is truly custom, that doesn't have to be from a ground up every single spec. So Taylor, I would say, makes it the easiest, except for maybe Furch. We've talked a little bit about these guys this year.
Customizing a Furch, there's two avenues of it, like Taylor. Their standard model options are kind of nuts because you can take anything in their lineup and just say, I want it this way, and there was a charge for it, and you can have it baritone or 12-string or 9-string. So that's pretty cool. The flexibility in cutaways and pickups and stuff is also pretty cool.
Yeah.
Maybe not the style of cutaway. It's one style, to my chagrin. I maybe want a different style. Peter. But they have some really great options. And if you've spent any time on their configurator, if you want to go full bore custom, there's a ton of stuff, and it's really cool to play around with and get yourself in virtual trouble on the website creating your dream guitar. I've done that a time or two.
Yeah, so this is a Rainbow Custom, which any custom from Furch that is built in that configurator will be a Rainbow. Like Chris said, you can go online and say, I want a red dreadnought baritone, like you can do those things, and it is a special order. It's going to take a little while, but it's not, full-on Rainbow. So this is a Rainbow that we got in the Czech Republic, and this is a beautiful OM with a pretty sweet Koa back on it.
That, chevron on the top. It's
super cool. But one thing we've talked about with Furch is they have a little more flexibility in the wood that they offer when it comes to stuff like Madagascar or ebony or...
Yeah. They'll seemingly get supply of things that sometimes is not available, is unobtainium with other companies. And I think it kind of goes back and forth, but they seem to just have a good supply of things that there's times where we couldn't get it anywhere else.
Yeah. And they will do custom inlay patterns. They have great inlays to choose from. But if you look through that configurator, I was talking with somebody today about it, tons of binding options, and then pick the color of the contrasting line.
Yeah.
And, it's really, really fun to mess around with.
Change the inlay you could do the linear, which is what I would always choose if I was doing a Furch. But you could do dot. You can make it very traditional. You can make it very modern looking.
Yeah.
Some people have asked me about the duo bevel option and why they can't see it. Great question. So if you're doing that configurator, you need to know that there's certain options that are available with certain body shapes. So, for instance, if you're speccing an OM, they don't currently offer the duo bevel as an option on the OM. You'd have to spec it as a GC. So that's some of the tips that we could provide. Same thing with the inlays. I think there's certain inlays that If you're building something, very traditional, I would advise. If you're building something more modern, I would go, you want to go this way.
Yeah.
It's a similar thing with Taylor. Taylor has a ton of inlays that are available. Some of them are very ornate, very artistic inlays, and it's a lot to choose from. They also don't really have a good illustrated resource. They have something that's kind of out of date at this point. So sometimes you'll see it on a list, this inlay. What does it mean? I know what those inlays are. With Furch, they have some examples on the website.
Yeah.
But going back to the custom inlay, when we visited their factory, one of the things Peter said I was kind of taken back by is that you can just send them an inlay and they'll set it up in their system and they'll cut it out with their lasers and they'll do it for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's phenomenal. That's probably one of the most flexible custom responses I've ever heard from a manufacturer.
Yeah.
Is just send us what you want as an inlay and we'll figure out how to inlay it in shell in wood.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. One thing that I also like is, I will say, any of these things, each option that you choose will be an added cost.
Mm-hmm.
Furch has a lot of things, just like Taylor does, and Martin, where it's like, yeah, if you're picking this series kind of outline or this style of guitar, it's like a no charge option. So if you're building a custom Taylor, but it's East Indian rosewood, I'm pretty sure that's built into the cost of the base model.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Furch, which is really cool. There are certain things that add no cost, and there are also things that are really cool. Like I saw a booster sound port the other day, and I think it added like $60 or something. And it's little things that you can do to make the guitar unique that aren't going to be an over the top, like this is another $1,200 or whatever.
Yeah.
But we've started to do more and more Furch customs for customers, not just stuff that we get it, from their events or do for the store. One of which was for our good friend Eric, and that guitar came out fantastic.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. What's neat is he wasn't familiar with the brand. We showed it to him. He was impressed immediately, and then what we ended up doing was speccing out a guitar that, he just absolutely loves. And is blown away by. So that's always fun.
So then we get to Martin.
Lots of options. Lots of history.
Lots of history, lots of options, and a lot more gung-ho attitude to do whatever the hell you want.
So I've got a fun story. The first time I ever visited the Martin factory, and I was hanging out with Jimmy and the guys in the custom shop area, that particular day, they were talking about... a customer had wanted to do an inlay on the headstock of a piece of frosted glass with a cutout reverse relief. So it would be smooth, but you could see the design from underneath. You know what I'm talking about? And I don't know what the design was, but one of them was excited because they had just figured out how to accommodate this. And I was like, wow. If you ever look at some of the old custom shop stuff, they would show heels that are engraved and carved out ornately with floral patterns. I've seen dramatic paint jobs of lions on the face of Martin custom shop guitar. Effectively, they are the ones that will go, you want that? It will cost this much, and we will do it for you.
Yeah.
So the sky is kind of the limit to a point. But
yeah, and I will say that Martin, while they are the most open to doing whatever, I have seen the result of that in the prices of some of these instruments.
Yeah,
and so when we go to the factory, yes, we have done customer guitars with Martin, plenty of them, but one of my favorite things about being at the factory is something like this, where the top on this guitar, we had picked the back and sides, which is Cocobolo, and we wanted to do a cool OM, and
Cocobolo, by the way, is one of those often unobtainium woods.
Yeah. So on this guitar, we were down there picking wood, and a fella that was in that room just pulled this set out and was like, this has been sitting down here for like 40 years. This is just old bear claw.
Old bear claw spruce. You don't even need to torify.
Yeah, don't even need to torify. So it feels like there's a spontaneity in that area when we're there where it's like, this would be cool. Hey, why don't you try this? That's how we tried the Pale Moon Ebony, because it just so happened to be kind of on the desk, and it's like, what is that? And that was really cool. But Martin also has a configurator that maybe you've seen on their website, and it has a bunch of options. And that is the one that faces the customer.
And then there's a different one.
There's a different one.
And then there's a different one.
And there's a different one. So if you're like, why don't I see, flame maple on this for back and sides? Then I can, maybe you don't see it on their website, but then I can check and we got it on ours.
Yep.
And then if you're, why don't they have Bubinga on here? And then I don't see it. And then we ask somebody else and they're like, no, we have that.
Bubinga.
So
it's like Bazinga. Bubinga.
Bazinga, yeah. The thing to take away from all this is if you don't see the option, the worst they can say is no, but it's worth it to ask because there are options behind the options. And we have seen some really remarkable things done in all of these custom shops that are totally one of a kind. We've never seen anything like it. And then there's plenty of other ones. We had one not too long ago that was OM28 custom, Sitka spruce, rosewood back and sides, a little bit of change on the binding and a different inlay. And it was a custom guitar that was made for somebody, but it didn't have to be, I want the craziest Koa, but that's fun too. You know?
I have an idea for a custom I'm going to run by Jimmy just to see how much I can press it. Like, I want a deep body OM with a laminate neck and rosewood back and side cedar top, Florentine cutaway, please.
HPL.
No HPL to be found.
I want to do HPL.
And just, it's some of that stuff would be fun to kind of push the limits on.
I want the Business Insider signature model. Spruce back.
Spruce top, spruce back, spruce sides, spruce neck.
That's the Dick Boak signature.
So I'll say this when it comes to Martin. Because of the history of the company, and what coincides with that is some of the bracing patterns from the past, the finish options on vintage style guitars, top thicknesses, hide glue or no hide glue. There are more things that you can do that are not apparent to the naked eye that can dramatically change the response of the guitar.
Yeah.
With the way that they have their custom shop appointments set up. And that's because of the history and because of the designs of the guitar. I remember, we're holding a V-Class Taylor. There was a point where when they were in advanced performance bracing, they were using hide glue. And with V-Class, they don't. And I remember asking Andy, and he's like, well, there's no benefit in this particular thing. You go this other way, and there's a lot of benefit depending upon how the guitar moves. And so that's a lot. It comes down to what's your budget? What do you really want the guitar to be?
Yeah.
You could make for the amount that you spend on a thin top, thin vintage finish, and hide glue with golden era bracing. If you did none of that, you could make a very ornamented guitar for the same money.
Yeah.
And one's extremely visually appealing and apparent, and one is not. And so, that's an important consideration.
Yeah, I would say the best thing you can do if you're deciding to, build your own custom is one, play a lot of different things, and go watch videos if you don't have a place near you where you can play all these different backs and sides.
I was going to say, that's the biggest complaint I hear is people go, there's no one around me.
Yeah.
Or another one, I've talked to people all the time, they're like, I have no experience with this, and you guys do. Does this really matter?
Yeah.
And going back to like hide glue. Does it really matter if I'm building this? And I can tell them, yes, I can hear the difference in this style of guitar if you do that.
So it's worth it doing research, whether that's playing, asking somebody that knows and has the experience, watching videos, looking up different visual aesthetics of things, because another thing is you may not be there to pick woods, but I saw it in a Taylor that we were working on yesterday. You can say, I don't want any sapwood, or I want the pieces with the most sapwood. They'll typically accommodate you, but do not rush the pre-work, because I have also seen situations in which we place the order, 3 months go down, and it's like, I actually saw a new inlay.
Yeah.
Or a different inlay on the headstock. And once that's confirmed and you've signed the sheet, they're not going to change it.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Know for sure. I don't think I've ever seen any custom guitar that didn't go through at least 1 or 2 rounds of revision.
I'm working on right now where we keep kind of going back and forth about some of the binding and my opinion is kind of changing about it, and that's part of the fun process.
Yeah.
Because it really is, you're working on a dream.
Yeah.
And for me, it's fun to collaborate with someone on their dream. So I get a lot out of it. And to help them understand what in my opinion, what I think matters and what I think, I don't think that's a big deal. We're holding acoustics and we've done that so far, but it's like if you go to Fender Custom Shop.
Yeah.
There are, we talked about the custom shop that I designed and the bridge that's on it. Did you get that same bridge?
The RSD?
Yeah. It looks like a normal, vintage tremolo style bridge, and it's not. And there's a difference, and I think it matters. And I've heard the differences between guitars. You go to Custom Shop Les Pauls, and you can spec it this way, vintage with a long tinted neck. Doesn't matter. Should these be potted or not? Well, what style of music do you play?
Yeah.
All of those things, we kind of become familiar with.
Yeah.
Even dealing with a builder that is primarily just a custom builder, which is, I put Santa Cruz in that kind of lot, Eggles in that kind of lot.
Yeah.
They've got their options, but it's basically bespoke. There's a lot to navigate there on how you want things.
So yeah, it's worth it. You're never gonna annoy a rep from a company asking whether ask every single question, know exactly what you're getting into, and then the hardest part is know that you're gonna wait a little bit. Because from these three manufacturers, the absolute minimum is going to be 6 months, more likely 9 months, sometimes up to a year. And I know these are just some of the brands we carry, but Collings and Santa Cruz, and I mean, that's over a year sometimes. And not always, but it's worth the wait. It's worth putting in the work beforehand to make sure you know exactly what you want, but then it's also worth it to be patient, because what's going to come out on the other end is totally worth it.
And I'll say this too, in the benefit of experience in doing this, and also in the pre-work, understanding what it is you want to hear, ideally, is there's that moment, you've experienced it, I've experienced it. I think anybody who's ordered a custom guitar has gone through it. It comes in and you're opening the case and there's a bit of a lump in your throat of, this is a lot of money, and I thought long and hard about this, and is it going to live up to the hype that you've created? And I remember, it was, too long ago to actually talk about that. I got a custom Taylor, and I was there, and I picked out the woods with my wife, and we went through a stack. It's like, this is what we want, and I had an idea in my mind of what it needed to sound like and why I'm pairing these particular tone woods with this body shape, and this tension on this scale length, and everything had been really thought through. So here's the day, and I'm opening the case, and that was funny. Everyone gathered around the table here at the store, and I took it out, and everyone was like ooh and ahhing, and it was that first strum. I was like, what is going on with this guitar? It was pretty awesome. That's the best experience, and I've never been on the side where I've been helping someone walk through all of the specifications. They get the guitar, and then it doesn't live up to their expectations. And I think that's because we try to take a lot of time to make sure we get it right. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I would like to an idea that we've had for a long time is, I think, documenting the actual process, because I think it'd be really fun to expand this. But the big thing for us is we love doing this. We like building custom shop guitars for ourselves and for the store and for other people. And I think that there's a lot of people here with experience doing it, but the biggest thing is we also neglect every single option on that sheet. Most of the time for us, it's like, oh yeah, well that's artist inlay and that's whatever. But any questions that anybody might have, we can help with it. And if you are the type of person that says, also, yeah, y'all can make a video with it, we love to do that too.
Yeah. Right, Manny? Yeah. So lots of options, and hopefully you're excited about potentially building your custom guitar. So if you are, reach out to us on our website. We've got a lot of custom guitars to choose from, and we've got a lot of experience, and you can pick our brand, we can pick yours, and find out at the end of the day what it's all about. And sometimes maybe it's just picking something really beautiful like this that kind of already meets the expectations of something that you were wanting, which is why we kind of spec stuff out like this. Incidentally, I did play this guitar.
Yeah, why don't we take a listen?
And so we're going to go with, since he shot the first one without me, I'm calling this Revenge of the Criff. So check it out. All right, it's a keeper. It's going to be a beautiful guitar for somebody, heirloom quality. That's kind of what we're talking about today. So if you are wanting to build your custom guitar, first thing that you want to do is go to our website, which is
alamomusic.com.
And you can chat with us. We've also got some custom guitar stuff on there. We've got custom guitars that are already in stock from various manufacturers, and some other resources to help you kind of reach out to us so that we can begin the conversation. And it will be a conversation. We'll go through a bunch of stuff, and we'll help you realize the dream guitar that you've always wanted.
Absolutely.
So, and if you like custom guitars and everything else, and you're new to our channel, do the things we talked about at the beginning.
You're going to want to subscribe to the channel.
That's nice.
And turn your notifications on, like the videos, share them with your friends, and comment and tell us what you want from a custom guitar.
What you really, really want.
I want that.
So gorgeous.
I'll take that.
So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.